Okay, so far we've talked about society as a whole. We've talked about what women want, kind of, the female psychology. And right now what we're going to look at is dating dynamics. We're going to look at the dating dynamic, the dating and sexuality, the dating marketplace. So we're kind of going to tie it all together in this final section of module number 1. We're going to talk about how to properly date, or where dating is at right now and how you fit in as a man. So the first thing you have to understand is dating dynamics, the basics of dating. What is the dynamic of dating now, and how do you fit into all of that? So it's important that you understand that there's two kinds of dating. And what we're going to talk about here is the first kind. So there's short-term dating and there's long-term dating. What we're going to focus on in the fuckboy frame is short-term dating, okay? Because generally when you're doing long-term dating, you do want to have more value-based qualities, but when you're doing short-term dating, and I'll explain what all this means, you want to have a bit more of this fuckboy frame. Okay, so short-term dating is essentially when you are not in a phase of your life where you're settling down. Some people consider short-term dating like just hookups. I don't think that just hooking up is necessarily has to be short-term dating. I think that you could have a girlfriend actually, but it could still be short-term dating. I think that long-term dating is when you're looking to settle down and form a meaningful, extended relationship over a long period of time and then move it to something else. So you understand the terms that I'm going to be using in this program, short-term dating is essentially when you're not looking to settle down right now. So it's like, guys who go out and like to party a lot and go to clubs a lot and maybe will hook up here and there. Maybe they'll have like a girl that they eventually start seeing, or girls that, have a guy that they start seeing, but maybe they'll still go out, but he's like their main guy, but they'll maybe get laid here and there. That's still short-term dating. What we're going to be focusing on here is the short-term dating dynamic, how to maximize that, because that's what a lot of guys never do. And we're going to talk more about that in the second module of the second video called the dating food chain. But right now we're going to focus on the dynamic of short-term dating. So short-term dating versus long-term dating, we'll have a look at both of them. So short-term dating is basically emotionally based attraction, right? Long-term dating is more value-based, but short-term dating is emotionally based attraction. It's, for the girl, it's kind of, this guy gives me amazing sex. This guy's a super cool guy. When I'm with him, he ties me up and lets me experience these wide emotions. So I'm going to keep seeing him and fucking him. And maybe I'll probably won't even fuck a lot of other guys because I have this guy that I can fuck. And then for a guy, it's more so, I have this really cool girl that I can be myself with and I can fuck her at regular, and she doesn't put pressure on me to be super, super exclusive, but she's a really cool friend of mine, a good fuck buddy, someone that I can talk to and we hang out with as friends and we have really good sex. That's pretty much the short-term dating dynamic from an emotional perspective, right? And the priorities in short-term dating are several different things, and let's maybe write these down. It is sex, it's spontaneity, it's attractiveness, and it is vibe. Okay, so these are the four aspects, the four priorities. I call them the priorities. So the four priorities of short-term dating. These are the four priorities, the four things that you need to hit right if you want to have successful short-term dating relationships. And again, short-term dating can be anything from hooking up with girls, like a one-night stand, all the way to having a girl who's actually a girlfriend, and maybe you see other girls, or maybe she's a girlfriend temporarily and eventually you move on, right? That's anything from short-term dating. Once you get into the frame or the part in your life where you want to settle down and you're like, let me actually settle down and kind of make this more meaningful and long-term and build something together, that's when you're getting into long-term dating. But right now we're talking about short-term dating in this little section. So short-term dating, the priorities are, again, sex, spontaneity, attractiveness, and vibe. What does this mean? So the first priority is sex. So in a short-term dating relationship, in order to have a successful short-term dating relationship, the sex must be good. A lot of guys wonder why they get laid from, let's say, going out and meeting a girl during the day, or online dating to get a date and bring the girl home, or they go and they bring a girl home from night game again, pick up stuff, going out at night, and they wonder why the girl doesn't hit them back up, or why doesn't the girl chase them, why doesn't the girl see them again? Why? The reason why is because probably the sex is not great. Honestly, like, a lot of guys think they're amazing in bed, but the sex probably isn't great. The way you know if you're good in bed is by feedback from the girls. Not if the girl's moaning. Every girl's gonna fucking moan in bed. But if the girl's telling you, that was amazing sex. Like, if the girl gives you that feedback, it probably is good feedback. Again, if you have to ask and kind of be like, was the sex good? And she's like, yeah, it was good. It was amazing sex. I mean, it's probably not good. But if the girl's willingly giving you that feedback and volunteering it, odds are that the sex is probably good. But sex is one of the biggest components as a man and a woman of having a successful short-term dating relationship. It's more on you as the man, however, to bring this out in the girl, right? But sex is very fucking important. The second priority in a short-term dating relationship is spontaneity. You have to be spontaneous. You have to be spontaneous in your relationship in short-term dating, because if the relationship stagnates, and again, this is also long-term, but it's a bit different. The dynamic shifts more long-term. But short-term dating, the girl you have to have more in the moment value than other guys. And again, you're constantly competing. So in the dating food chain, you're constantly competing against other guys if you're a man, because the girl's getting hit up by tons of guys. So again, the girls that I'm fucking, like most of the time, they just decide to end up fucking me actually after like 1 or 2 times we have sex. But there's other guys hitting them up. There's other guys that they've been seeing that are pretty cool guys that may be more fit, more physically attractive than I am. But spontaneity is so important, because it's like, do you act in the moment? Do you have this crazy narrative? Which is why, again, I take my girls and I fuck them in the bathroom. I fuck my girls in the office. I fuck them in new places, because I'm adding that spontaneity, that whole narrative of, oh my God, we're going on this crazy little adventure, this crazy story. It's in the fucking moment, and you access the feminine emotions. When there's no spontaneity and it's, hey, every day we come over to do the same thing, same shit. It's like, it's not fucking fun. That's why a lot of times I'll go through different stages with my girls. I'll handcuff them. Maybe one day I'll like literally, like once, I literally poured wine all over my girl in her fucking bed without her asking me to do it. She got pretty pissed off, but the sex was amazing. Very sticky sex, but I poured wine like all over her and like licked it off her body, and then we fucking banged all night. And then she was like, you ruined my bed, and she got mad. But I was adding spontaneity to it. It was a little uncalibrated, but I added spontaneity, okay? So, spontaneity is the second priority in short-term dating. There has to be spontaneity if you're going to keep girls around in short-term dating relationships. If you're going to have effective short-term dating, part of this, fuckboy frame is spontaneity. It's like random shit. It's like, this is the new narrative. This is the new storyline. And the storyline keeps bouncing around. The girl's like, oh my God, what's happening next? What's happening next? More emotions, more attractiveness, things like that. The second thing, like I just said, the third thing is attractiveness, okay? The woman has to be attracted to you. You have to maintain your attractiveness as a man. Now, this is through a couple things. It's through looks, right? It's through looks. And that's something that I've worked on so much in the last year and a half, the last 2 years. I used to be like a 5 or 6, and my game was really fucking tight. So I was able to get laid quite a bit. That was when I was, assisting my mentors, running programs for my mentors before I was really doing this full time. But really in the last year, I've really worked on my own looks. I've grown my hair out. I wear really cool clothes. I'm getting tattoos. Like every couple months I get new tattoos, and things like that. So I've worked on my fashion and I've worked on my looks. I've grown my facial hair out. So now, because my looks are up there, now more girls are open to, sexual experiences with me because I look better. Second thing is emotional attractiveness. The way I present myself. We're going to get into this when we talk about how to actually properly do game. But the way I talk to girls, the way that I look at the girl when I'm communicating with her, the way that I present myself to her, how is my body language when I'm talking to her, how do I look at her when we're fucking, all this is a part of attractiveness, right? Being an attractive man. So attractiveness is one of the most important parts of, or one of the most important priorities of short-term dating, right? You need to be attractive and you need to maintain attractiveness, because attractiveness does die down. Attractiveness doesn't just stay throughout the whole interaction, like of the whole relationship. Attractiveness can die down. And I've lost fuck buddies. I've lost good friends that were girls that I was sleeping with because I lost my attractiveness, because I kind of lulled myself to sleep and I became a guy that was just unattractive. I became super needy, all these things. And we're going to get into all this later, but attractiveness is one of the biggest parts of having a successful short-term dating relationship. Being an attractive man, keeping yourself attractive to the woman, keeping a standard for yourself where you're attractive. It's also important that the girl keeps this too. Like, fuck buddies and girls that I date lose attraction with me if they don't maintain their own attractiveness. Like, if a girl doesn't maintain a healthy lifestyle, if the girl doesn't maintain her feminine essence, her feminine energy, I lose attraction with her, and I'm no longer, I don't feel it anymore. Like, I don't feel it if she doesn't maintain that attractiveness we had at the beginning. So it's important from both ends, but you as a man, you have to maintain your attractiveness. And the fourth priority when it comes to the short-term dating dynamic is the vibe. How is the vibe? What is the vibe like in the relationship? And this goes back to kind of the tying it all together of the emotional roller coaster. What is the vibe like? Are there strong emotions? Is the interaction, is the relationship constantly up and down emotionally? And when I say constantly up and down, I don't mean that you guys hate each other and she hates your guts and wants to break up with you. But when I say up and down, I mean, is she experiencing these highs and lows as far as, Oh my God, we're doing crazy things together. Oh my God, this guy constantly makes me feel all these kind of ways. How you look at her. What is the vibe like? Does the vibe die out? Is the vibe, where you guys are hanging out and fucking and you're just walking out of the place at the end and you don't feel anything? If that's the case, now you're not supposed to feel, you don't have to feel like, you're falling in love with this girl, because if that's the case, maybe that's a girl you'd consider being in a relationship with. But part of this vibe is not letting things completely die out. You always want to feel this little spark of, crazy emotions with this person that you're with in short-term dating. And again, sometimes it's going to be more than others. So I'm not saying that if you hook up with some random chick in a bathroom in a club, you have to feel, oh my God, I love this girl. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying you have to feel that with the girl that you're sleeping with regularly. But what I am saying is there has to be a vibe that you have, even the kind of vibe you would have with a friend. Like me and my male friends, we have a vibe. We have a vibe that we have. When we're together, we feel a sense of brotherhood, a sense of camaraderie, right? It's a vibe that we have that we maintain, and we maintain a relationship. So it's the same thing with the short-term dating dynamic. You have to maintain a vibe with the girl. There has to be a vibe that you keep up, a vibe of, emotional experiences, and a vibe of exchanging fun emotions. You want it to be more fun. So again, short-term dating is more emotional based. It's more like when we're together, we feel these crazy emotions. When we're together, we feel this sexual tension. And I'm going to talk more about how to maintain this vibe later. Part of it is you can't see this girl too much. If you spend too much time with her, the vibe does begin to die down and you have to rely more on value. However, I'm not going to get into that here because I'm talking about the surface level dynamics. Towards the end of this program, after you guys have gone out and really understood this, we'll talk more about this deep vibe. Something else that I want to talk about is long-term dating, the long-term dating standard, and the priorities for long-term dating. So long-term dating is generally value-based, right? So instead of emotional-based attraction, it's value-based attraction. Long-term dating is, dating where you're settling down. It's where you're like, this is someone that I would have experiences with that I would want to build something with. So it's like we travel together, for example. This person is doing shit with their lives and I enjoy being around them for them. It's almost like if we weren't having sex, I'd still want to be around this person, but because I'm sexually attracted to them, we have begging sex, and that's how we keep our relationship emotionally maintained, right? But that's kind of the value-based dating. So it's like with me, with emotional-based dating, a lot of times emotional-based short-term dating, I wouldn't actually be in relationships or like stay with the girls that I'm in short-term dating relationships with if we weren't having sex. I probably wouldn't. Maybe friends here and there, but I wouldn't really talk to them and become friends with them, right? But in long-term dating, you probably could see yourself being friends with this person regardless of the sex. But the sex is something that you do because she's a woman and because men and women have sex and because she's great in bed and you enjoy exchanging those emotions with her, right? It starts off a lot of times through sex and then it progresses to something further. That's kind of how you know the long-term dating relationship is what you're aiming for with someone. And we're going to talk about that later when we get into relationships and dating in later modules. But that's kind of the tests that you can do there. And what happens is long-term dating is mainly based on value. It's based a lot on value. It's based on what you bring to the table value-wise. And this is something you want to be careful with as a man. But we're going to look into the priorities of long-term dating. So the first priority, there's three of them. There's consistency, emotional consistency, there's financial stability, and then there's bonding time, okay? Excuse me. The first one is consistency. What does this mean? So emotional consistency basically means that when you're in a long-term dating relationship, you want the emotional wavelength to slow down just a bit. Okay, you want it to be that emotional wavelength, of course, where it's up and down, yes, and the girl's experiencing these highs and lows, but you want there to be some kind of consistency where the girl feels that she can rely on you emotionally and rely on you value-wise. Right? So it's a little more than just I feel like everything's going to be okay when he's fucking me in the bathroom, or I feel everything's going to be okay when we're having a threesome. But it is more so I feel everything's going to be okay because I know this person. Does that make sense? I truly know this person and I know who he is. There's a difference between emotional value and between logical value, but there's also a difference between emotional consistency and just this emotional highs and lows. Emotional consistency is where the girl knows who you are. Like the girls that I date that are my fuck buddies, they don't necessarily know who I am. Like a lot of the girls that I'm going to be fucking the next year or two that are just like short-term dating relationships, they're not going to even know about this program. They won't know about like the fuckboy frame, right? Because why? Because I don't want them to know deeply all the time who I am necessarily. Now, when I say who I am, it's not because I'm hiding it, but it's because I'm still keeping that up and down emotional layer where it's surface level connection, right? It's surface level connection. Remember early on in I think in the first video, when it comes to women and what women want, I talked about connection, how they value connection. They value emotions and connection. Connection is more of the long-term dating strategy, right? So connection is more of the woman values long-term connection. She values long-term. I know who this man is. I am emotionally connected to this man and I know truly what I'm getting into. I know who he is. That's more of a long-term dating benefit. That's more of a long-term dating priority, right? In short-term dating priorities, you don't have emotional consistency like that. You don't have this consistency where the girl constantly knows everything about you, who you are in every situation. It's more of a short-term up and down, but in long-term dating, you want to have this emotional consistency. The second priority is stability, financial stability. And financial stability doesn't mean that you have to be a rich guy who's providing for the girl all the time. What emotional stability means is that when you are communicating with the woman, I'm sorry, not emotional stability, financial stability. What financial stability means is that when you're communicating with the woman, when you are going through life with her, she understands that you financially are in a place where you are good to support yourself and where you're not just randomly floating here and there. For example, myself right now, I'll give an example. When it comes to financial stability, for me, a lot of the girls that I see, it's very hard for me to get into long-term dating, and maybe by the time I release this program, I'll be in a different place. But the reason why it's a little hard for me to get into long-term dating is because the stability that I have, even though I'm financially stable, the stability that I have is not, as far as like value and possessions, I don't have a lot of that stability. I'm all over the place. I'm in one city here, I'm in one city the next week. I don't really have, when I say my shit together, that's what I mean. I don't have my shit together as far as stability life-wise, financially and value-wise, right? Now what happens is a lot of guys who get into long-term dating relationships, maybe you'll get into a position where you're with a girl that you're traveling with a lot and you guys are traveling together, as I soon hope to be. Maybe when I move a little on from, the community and the nomad pickup life, right? What happens is a lot of guys who get into the long-term dating situation, you want to have that stability financially and value-wise. That stability where you have an anchor, you have a place that you're in. Now, I'm not going to get into deep relationship coaching in this module, but that is an important part of long-term dating solutions. Now, again, there are exceptions. There's a lot of exceptions. And I think I would be one of those exceptions. When I get into a long-term dating relationship, I'll probably be traveling with that girl. Me and her will be experiencing those things. But again, it's hard to find girls like that who are willing to just do that. So for you guys who may not be in the same situation that I am life-wise, where you're running your own business and you literally have no commitments anywhere job-wise, this may be a little different for you. So you may want to have that financial stability, where, it's like, hey, I live in this place, I have my shit together, I have this core group of friends, we go out and I'm financially secure. For the younger guys watching this is more of a younger guy point I'm trying to make. For the younger guys who are watching this, it's gonna be harder to get a long-term relationship, again, with a girl that's very high quality if you don't have that financial stability. Like if you're living with your fucking parents and you are relying on them for support and you are barely able to go out and take a girl on a date for food, it's going to be harder to have that long-term dating relationship with the girl that is actually quality, okay? Take it or leave it. All these principles that I'm giving you are not things that are, Tim is, everything that Tim says has to fucking go. I mean, maybe you'll find your own way, your own path, or you'll listen to people in other schools of thought, but these are things that I've noticed. The third priority is bonding time, okay? And this goes back to the emotional consistency, which was the first priority of long-term dating, but bonding time is really fucking important, okay? When you're getting into long-term dating relationships, you have to have bonding time. You have to have time where you build something with the girl. Again, the biggest difference between emotional short-term dating and logical or value-based long-term dating is the building together. You guys are actually building together, right? That's a big difference. A lot of guys who get into short-term dating are never building something with the girl. They're not building anything for the future, right? It's like, you're here in my city now, we're fucking for the next 3 months, then you'll maybe move on, we'll follow each other on Snapchat. It was awesome meeting you, you're a great friend. If you ever visit again, maybe you'll crash with me and we'll fuck again. But it's not like you're building a future together, right? But you have to have bonding time if you're gonna build a future with a woman. You have to have this bonding time. And that's something that I only do with girls that I'm going to get into long-term dating situations with. A lot of times when I'm getting into girls with long-term dating situations, in long-term dating relationships, I will go on multiple dates with girls without sleeping with them. I never do that when I'm with a girl that I'm just sleeping with as a fuck buddy or in a short-term dating relationship. I'll rarely do that, right? But maybe I'll see girls more and go on more dates with them, spend money on them, buy good food with them if I'm moving towards a long-term dating relationship. The reason why is because bonding time. Bonding time, you want to build that bond so you can build something together. That's the goal, right? You want to build up a bond. Now, there's a couple of problems when it comes to the dynamic between short-term dating and long-term dating, and this is what a lot of guys run into. We're going to go more into it in the next module with the dating food chain, or the next video with the dating food chain, but I want to discuss it here. Problems that you may face when you're doing this dynamic, and this is why so many guys fucking struggle with this, why guys jump into the value game instead of the emotional based game, is because what they're doing is they're using value-based attraction in short-term dating situations. Almost every situation, and write this down, if this is you need to write this fucking down, okay? Almost every situation where you meet a girl from the very beginning, like the first time you meet the girl, almost every situation where you meet a woman right off the bat, it is a short-term dating situation. You rarely go from meeting a woman in a club or on the street and starting off trying to long-term date her and then go to short-term dating. That doesn't happen. You start off with short-term dating attributes, short-term dating priorities, again, sex, attractiveness, things like that. You start off with those short-term dating priorities. Then if anything, you move to long-term dating priorities after you've established a short-term. But you have to establish a short-term. And a lot of guys go up with the value-based dating instead of the short-term emotional-based dating qualities, right? So like they'll go up to a girl and they'll, again, I call it the drink at the bar analogy. They'll go up and they'll want something from the girl. They'll want to get her, the drink at the bar. Hey, can I buy you a drink? Because they think that getting the girl that drink is going to get something from her. Hey, can I buy you the drink at the bar? Because they want to get something from her, and they're trying to give value to get. They're trying to give value to get. But again, giving value is value-based dating. It's value-based long-term dating. Trying to get something from the girl by giving value. Here's the drink. I have money to buy you a drink. This is not to say you should never buy a girl a drink. I do buy drinks for girls, but I don't do it like, hey, how are you? I'd like to meet you. Can I get you a drink? I don't do it like that. Can I get you a drink for your time? Remember, we talked about what women want and kind of how women see themselves, right? You don't want to be the guy that shows the girl, I need your time. You don't want to be the guy that shows the girl, I see you as that special little goddess, right? Because when you do that, you are putting yourself in a long-term dating situation without establishing the short-term first. You have to establish the short-term first. Remember the priorities, the 4 priorities: sex, attractiveness, spontaneity, and vibe. You have to establish those first with a girl before you go into the long-term dating strategy. Or you never even get to the long-term. If you want to continue doing short-term dating, that's what you do. Right? So it's important that you understand that you're not doing value-based dating. And what's really important, another problem kind of, is that girls have value because of their looks. They have value automatically because of their looks. That's another issue when it comes to the short-term, long-term dating dynamic. Because of the looks thing, because girls, according to society, have a lot of value because of their looks, what happens is guys tend to prioritize the looks. They tend to prioritize the looks value that the girls have. Right? And they go up and they fuck everything up. That's another problem. They'll go up and they'll be like, shit, this girl has more value. Thus, I need to go with a long-term dating strategy because they're thinking value for value for value. But again, when you become a guy that has, the fuckboy frame qualities, you begin to understand, no, the girl doesn't have value because of your looks. The girl has value because of who she is as a person. Right? You don't value looks. Like when I go out and I meet women, I don't value them because of their looks. To me, like an ugly girl is the same as a fucking hot girl, except that I want to sleep with and get to know the hot girl because I don't want to be around ugly girls sexually. It's not my thing. I'm not into that, right? It's important that you understand this, okay? It's important that you understand that the girl doesn't have value because of her looks. This is a big problem that fucks a lot of guys up. The other issue is that women have an abundance of men but a shortage of quality. That's a huge thing. So this is a problem for girls. Girls have an abundance of men but a shortage of quality. And this is what can be a problem for you as a guy who's trying to learn these fuckboy principles, because you have to come across as the guy that is the quality man. And we're going to get you there. I'm going to get you there. That's what the purpose of this program is, to get you to have the quality. Right? To get you to be the guy that has that quality. Women have an abundance of men, but a shortage of quality. Like I'll have girls that go through moments in their life where they don't fuck anyone for like months at a time because they just haven't met a guy that has enough quality, right? It's kind of sad. Like, there's so many guys out there, and most of them are not getting laid because most of them are just not quality. It's like if you were surrounded on like an island with like hundreds of girls, almost all of them were like fat chicks. I know if that was me, no shade to fat chicks, but I don't enjoy fucking fat women. Not my thing, right? If that was me, I wouldn't have a lot of sex probably because that's not my type. And I would have to find a girl who was attractive. It'd be harder to find that kind of girl. And when I did, I'd latch onto her. Same thing with girls. Most guys don't know how to tap into the emotions, which is the short-term dating principle. Most guys are stuck with value-based dating, which is, the long-term dating principles. And girls don't want that because long-term dating is value-based. It doesn't fuck with their emotions. It doesn't make their emotions be expressed. It doesn't allow them to express their feminine, right? So there's an abundance of men, but a shortage of quality. And you as a man need to learn how to step it up and become one of those quality men. Okay, so now we've talked about the dating dynamics. We're going to crack into the dating food chain, which will give you more insights as to where you are on this food chain and how to step your game up.